Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back here to my home and my kitchen at Seed and Sparrow Homestead. If this is your first time hanging out, hello, my name is Kelsey and I'm so glad you're here. Today I am bringing you some DIY pantry staples. I have 10 from scratch recipes for very commonly purchased things at the grocery store. And when we make them homemade, they're gonna be so much better for us, save some money in the long run, and they still taste really good too. So today we are making chicken and beef bouillon, Lipton Onion Soup mix, cream of soup powder that you can customize for whatever version you need, au jus, chocolate and vanilla pudding mix, taco seasoning, and a white gravy powder. All homemade and from scratch, so we get to control the ingredients that we are using, and then we can customize to our own likings. So if you couldn't tell, before this video I kind of went with a theme of like powdery mixes or the things you can buy in a little packet at the store. Wanted to give you some healthier substitutes for those things. I have a whole bunch of DIY pantry staple videos. I can put one here on the screen and one down, like a playlist, down in the description. So if you're not seeing something here, perhaps you can find it over there in one of those videos, but if you still can't find it, let me know if there's something you have just been searching for a healthier homemade substitute. Drop it down in the comments and I will see if I can help you out. And now as I'm talking about this, I probably should have included my ranch seasoning blend in this video. I have shared that before, but maybe I'll throw it in here too, because that's pretty commonly purchased in the packets at the store. So perhaps you are getting 11 recipes today. So without further ado, recipe number 1. So whenever I make a whole bunch of recipes in bulk, I like to have everything out at the ready, lids off. I have my containers here. I'm just using some mason jars because I'm a canner and I've got tons of these, but you can use whatever you want. I have a funnel here just to make things a bit less messy. And I also have all of my recipes either written out or printed whenever I'm working like this. This should not take you very long. All of these recipes should be done within a matter of minutes. It's just measuring out, combining them in a jar, shaking them up, or blending them, depending on your preference. So I have some freeze-dried tomato powder back there. These were yellow tomatoes, that's why it's that color. But you can find tomato powder at the store or on Amazon. I've got some organic raw cane sugar, some organic cacao powder. I have salt and pepper here. Down here I have some arrowroot powder. You can also use cornstarch. I have nutritional yeast. You'll need some sort of mushroom powder. This is umami powder. It's shiitake based. And I also have some whole milk powder back there. And then up front I just have a whole bunch of herbs and spices. First recipe is some chicken bouillon powder. This requires nutritional yeast. If you've never had nutritional yeast, it has a very rich, nutty, little bit cheesy, savory flavor. It's really good and it's good for you. And that's gonna be the base to our chicken bouillon. I'm gonna get my funnel on here. We need 1 cup nutritional yeast. And apparently it's very powdery and it goes all over the place. 1.5 tablespoons of salt, 3 tablespoons of onion powder, 3 tablespoons of garlic powder, 3 tablespoons of parsley leaves, tablespoon of rosemary. This is mine from the garden actually. So I keep these containers and when I grow things in the garden, I just throw them into the old containers. Just makes it easy. 2 teaspoons of turmeric, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, 1 tablespoon of oregano, and finally 1 tablespoon of basil. Now I'm gonna take this mixture here and I am going to grind it up. It's not necessary, but if you do grind it, everything just incorporates a bit better. There aren't any big chunks and it's much more of a powder. It's going to dissolve much better into a liquid. So I'm gonna just get this is just my coffee grinder that I cleaned out. And it might take 2 or 3 batches, but it will be worth it. And that's all there is to it. Homemade chicken bouillon powder. A couple of things, all the recipes, as usual, will be down in the description. And if you are wondering about how long these things will last, they store pretty much indefinitely. They're all shelf stable. For some of the recipes that have things like dry milk, you're going to want to check the expiration on that and then go by that date, the most perishable item. So to prepare this bouillon, it's just 1 tablespoon per 8 ounces of hot water. For the beef bouillon, I'm doing 8 tablespoons of this mushroom powder, 6 tablespoons of tomato powder, 3 tablespoons salt, 4 tablespoons nutritional yeast, 2.5 tablespoons of onion powder, 2.5 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of mustard powder, 1.5 tablespoons of oregano, 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper, 1.5 teaspoons of celery salt, 1.5 teaspoons of rosemary. Gonna blend this up again in the grinder. Here's the beef bouillon. It's not as dark as what you would get in the store. Some of that is because my tomatoes were not red. They were yellow. But it smells so good. Like just like opening up a jar of beef bouillon, it tastes so good too. Just like the chicken bouillon, it is 1 tablespoon of the dry mix per 8 ounces of water. Onto a Lipton Onion Soup mix. We're gonna use some of the beef bouillon we just made. So a 1/2 cup, I need my funnel here. This goes in. A 1/2 cup also of some minced onion. 1 tablespoon of onion powder. 2 teaspoons garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of paprika. This one we don't need to grind up, so I'm going to stick a lid on it and wring, give it a shake, and I'm going to label the top, and this one is all done. So for the equivalent to a packet of the Lipton soup mix, it'd be about 3 tablespoons here. Next up is a cream of soup base. So you can customize this to be cream of broccoli, celery, chicken. I think there's like a cream of cheese, whatever you need. You would customize it after the soup has been prepared. So I will tell you exactly how to do that here in a minute. 2 cups of whole milk powder, 3/4 cup of either cornstarch or arrowroot powder, 1/4 cup of the chicken bouillon we just made, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of dried basil, a 1/2 teaspoon of dried rosemary, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to show you how to prepare this here in just a second, but a quick note, you may notice I am not fully filling the measurements, and that's because I wasn't sure I was going to have enough and I didn't want to run to the store, so I was going with scant measurements. So don't pay attention to that, just pay attention to the amounts I am saying. So to prepare this, all you have to do is add a 1/3 cup of the mix to 1 cup of either milk or water and heat it up over medium-low heat until it is thickened. You want to keep stirring it. And then you'll add in a 1/2 cup of a prepared add-in, either cooked broccoli, celery, mushrooms, chicken, or you could add in some cheese. Now let's make some beef au jus. So we need the beef bouillon that we made, yet again, 1/2 cup, a 1/2 cup of either arrowroot or cornstarch. Despite the funnel, I'm still making a grand old mess. 2.5 tablespoons of onion powder, 4 teaspoons dried chives, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Lid, give it a good shakeroo. And there is some beef au jus powder. To prepare the au jus, you would take 1.5 tablespoons of the dry mix, combine it with 2 cups of water, and simmer it until it has thickened just slightly. This one won't get super thick. If you are using it in a recipe, like if you were just purchasing a packet, again, that equals out to about 3 tablespoons of the prepared powder. Let's make some seasoning blends. This is going to be a taco seasoning. 3 tablespoons of chili powder, 1.5 tablespoons of cumin, 3 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1.5 teaspoons of oregano, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of onion powder, 3/4 teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of arrowroot powder just to help keep things from not sticking together. It's like an anti-caking agent. Shake it up. If you want it a little bit spicy, you could throw in some red pepper flakes. Up to you. You can customize all of these things, add more or less if it's not one of your favorite flavors. There you go. Taco seasoning. I would do about 3 tablespoons per pound of meat. We're gonna make the ranch seasoning then. I just decided to throw it in here. So the only extra thing that I didn't show you in the beginning is some dill weed. We'll need that for this blend. For the ranch, we need 4 tablespoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, tablespoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 tablespoons of parsley, teaspoon of chives, teaspoon of dill weed, 1 teaspoon of raw organic cane sugar, and again about a teaspoon of arrowroot powder just to keep everything from sticking together. And we shake. There you go. So to make like a ranch dip, like if you were to buy a ranch seasoning packet, I would do about a tablespoon to start in like a cup of sour cream, or you could do plain Greek yogurt or a combination of the two. You could throw in a little bit of mayo, play around with it, and then just keep adding until it gets to your preferred taste. But I always start with like a tablespoon. All right, let's make some white gravy mix. For that, you need some flour. If you are gluten-free, you can totally use a 1-to-1 gluten-free flour. I'm just gonna make this one for my family. If you didn't know, I am gluten-free for the foreseeable future. So we need 2.5 cups. 1 cup of whole milk powder. I've never tried like a dairy substitute powder. I'm not sure how that would taste or turn out, so I cannot give you any advice on that one. This should hold 4 cups, but it's not holding 4 cups, so now I need a bigger container. We'll go to the big guy, ½ gallon. Okay, let's try and do this without making a massive mess. ½ cup of arrowroot or cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of salt. We're gonna do a bit of pepper here, about an 1/8 cup. I don't really know off the top of my head what that is in like tablespoons or teaspoons, but I'm just doing ½ of a quarter here. All right. And you know, if you don't love things super peppery, you might want to dial that back a bit. You can always do it with less and then add some more pepper as you need it. Lid and shake. This white gravy is very easy to throw together. Take 2 tablespoons of butter and melt that in a saucepan. Once melted, add in 3.5 tablespoons of our prepared white gravy mix. You're going to whisk that together and allow that flour to cook up for about a minute. Then we're going to add in some milk, 1.5 cups. slowly, just a little bit at a time, so it ensures we get a nice smooth sauce. And then once all the milk is added in, just let it simmer over low heat until it is nice and thick. I used what I made here for dinner that night. I cooked up some sausage, threw it into the white gravy, and then I made some buttermilk biscuits, and that was dinner. Onto some vanilla and chocolate pudding powder. The base recipe here is going to be the same for both, and then later on we'll customize the flavors. So the base is going to be 2 cups of whole milk powder, 1.5 cups of raw organic cane sugar. You'll need 3/4 cup of either cornstarch or arrowroot powder, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So that would be your base. I ran into the problem of not having a big enough container again, so I dumped it into a Tupperware container. I just went ahead and I doubled the recipe, 1 for vanilla and 1 for chocolate, and then I'm going to customize. So for the chocolate, you're going to add in 3/4 cup of cocoa powder. The vanilla is just going to stay as is. We'll add some vanilla extract once we prepare the vanilla pudding mix. Let's prepare the chocolate mix. You're going to combine 1 cup of the pudding mix with 2 cups of milk. You're going to stir this constantly, and you're going to bring it to a boil. After you have achieved that boil, remove it from the heat and add in 1 tablespoon of butter and about a teaspoon of vanilla. Stir that up and then pour it into whatever container you want to set up. I have used this in a pudding pie, and we have just made this just to eat. My kids absolutely love it. The vanilla is going to be prepared the same way: 1 cup of mix, 2 cups of milk. You're going to whisk constantly, bring it up to a boil over medium heat. Once it's finished, you're going to remove from the heat, add that tablespoon of butter, and this time a pretty hefty splash of vanilla extract. Just add to your own taste. Pour it into your container, allow it to set, and you have vanilla pudding. Okay, my friend, there you go. 10 homemade dry mixes for the pantry. They're going to save you some money, be much better for your health, and they're still going to taste really good too. Hopefully you can see just how easy it is to make these things, and they take very little time. If I wasn't filming, I probably could have had all of these done in less than 15 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me today in the kitchen. Let me know if you have any questions or if there is another item you'd like me to come up with a homemade substitute. I'd be happy to do that for you. Many blessings, my friend. I will see you next time. Take care.